Guten Abend, good evening, ladies and gentlemen. It's very nice to see some old friends here after many years. Mr. Boozer, especially. I met him after 20 years. Last time we met was in my house in Pune. Mr. Jupali, the young entrepreneur representing my home group in India, also the backbone of TV9. It was a great pleasure to hear you yesterday and meet with you. Mr. Kasper, the great, there he is. I think he's been the main guy why we are in this arena. Also, he's a good friend of one of my very good friends, Stephen Buchner, who is not here today. He had to go to Oman. Mr. Barun Das, Managing Director of TV9. My friends from the German industry. Mr. Stefan Haluza, Director General of Indo-German Chamber of Commerce. Friends from the Indian industry, ladies and gentlemen. I almost consider Germany my second home after India. And it is indeed a great pleasure to address such a distinguished gathering, an audience here in Stuttgart, Baden-Württemberg, the epicenter of European automotive industry and the famous German Mittelstand. First and foremost, I compliment Mr. Jupali, Mr. Barun Das, and Mr. Kasper, the chief organizers of News9 Global Summit. The grand event is a testimony to your excellent leadership, innovative thinking, and great teamwork. Please accept my heartiest congratulations and conceptualizing and organizing this grand platform that brings together the political leaderships, business leadership, cultural people, sports, and more importantly, the people of India and Germany, together under one single roof. Truly great work. Exactly a month ago, 21st, 22nd October, we marked 20 years of my company, Bharat Forge's footprints here in Germany. It was in 2004 that we had acquired a small business in Ennepetal that was known by the name of Carl Dan Peddinghaus. That was the name of the founder at that time, a very distinguished engineer who had formed this forging company near Dusseldorf. That was followed by another acquisition called Aluminum Technique in Dresden. And eventually this marked the paradigm shift in our company's quest for supplying and being a solutions development partner to who's who of the European automotive industry. For an Indian company, 20 years ago, this was not easy. We were entering uncharted territory. I don't think any German automotive executive ever believed that an Indian company coming out of Pune can supply, let's say, critical automotive components 20 years ago. Today it's a different story altogether. And hopefully tomorrow it'll be another story where we may even do even better things and greater things. Today, 250,000 Indians reside in Germany. Back then, there were only about 25,000. Today, you have restaurants serving Indian cuisine in every major German city. Back then, there weren't any. Most Indians who come here, by the way, don't miss Indian cuisine. They enjoy European food. But we also have a large population of vegetarians who like their curry. Germany in 2004 was the third largest economy in the world. India was not even listed in the top 10. So when we took charge of these operations, there was a lot of skepticism within the management and the workforce. CDP's workforce in Ennepetal was roughly about 550, 600 people. And the skepticism was, here's an Indian guy coming from India. He's going to take our technology, take it to India, take our jobs, and run this company down. And we knew if we had to succeed in the heartland of German manufacturing, and the Ruhr region is the heartland of German manufacturing, at least in the metal area, and like Stuttgart is in the automotive area. We had to first gain the trust of our employees, create a collective new vision together, and chart the way forward to grow the business and win the confidence of our customers. But ladies and gentlemen, within 100 days from the day we acquired this business, one of my good friends, and then who was the director of sales and marketing, his name was Michael Kaspersky, he long retired, paid glowing tributes to the new organization and acknowledged the technology, discipline, and speed that we Indians brought back in the company that charted the course of profitable growth in the following years. We gradually became one of the largest forging companies, and today at Bharat Forge, we take pride in being a preferred supplier and development partner to marquee customers like Mercedes-Benz of the Daimler Group, Porsche, Volkswagen Group, Volvo, Scania, DAF, MTU, almost every company who is making anything to do with engines and transmissions. We greatly value our relationships with each of our customers. Mr. Berzer from Mercedes-Benz is here, as I said, and I must take this opportunity to convey our sincere gratitude to the continued support, patronage, and guidance that we have received from the Daimler Group. And also I must say that Mercedes has played a very, very crucial role in developing the technology level of a lot of Indian companies. They have manufacturing plants in India, both for passenger cars and for trucks and also for buses. And they have many suppliers and supplier development systems. And it's just amazing what you can learn from a company like Mercedes-Benz. So thank you, Mr. Berzer. Ladies and gentlemen, what I just narrated, our company's experience in Germany and with German automotive majors, is a small speck in the larger strategic partnership between our two vibrant democracies. But yes, if there is a will and a determination to collaborate, the German-India collaboration can make a great positive impact to global business, the economy, and world societies at large. Ladies and gentlemen, we all are amidst a very rapidly evolving world with many unknowns and many known unknowns, making already a VUCA world even more complex and incomprehensible. The many flashpoints that are cropping up on the planet today are indicative of the end of a multilateral, rule-based global order, redefining the existing alignments, trade links, and thereby signaling a major transition in the globalization era, if not the end of it. Against this backdrop, such a dynamic and VUCA environment, the world is witnessing 4-5 major transitions that each of our businesses, no matter which part of the planet you are, must account for. From a manufacturing perspective, since I come from a manufacturing industry, the digital and AI transition impacts productivity, quality, work life, is one of the most major transitions that all manufacturing companies will go through. The energy transition impacting sustainability, to my mind, is a must if we need to save the planet. And one of our sister companies, Kalyani who make engineering steel, in a very simple manner, has been able to demonstrate how to make green steel without having to invest billions of dollars and green hydrogen and all that thing. So there are solutions, simple solutions, that are also available. The bioengineering or the genetic engineering transition, which is going to impact health and food security, especially for populous countries like India and other populous countries in Asia, is going to be extremely important as we go forward, especially in our region. The supply chain transition and the resilience of supply chain, which we are witnessing today, is something that impacts global manufacturing and global trade. And of course, the most important one, which we are now beginning to see come into play very rapidly, is the whole human resources transition. And I'll talk a little bit about this going forward. I strongly believe that India is very suitably poised and possibly best placed in the world today to adapt and steer these transitions or the mega trends. I've been in the manufacturing business for more than 5 decades, with operations spread across Germany, Sweden, France, the United States, and of course India. Never in the past have I experienced the kind of confidence and positive impression that India as a country is casting at the world stage today. At approximately $4 trillion today, India is the 5th largest economy globally and is believed to accelerate to $30 trillion by 2047. That is the vision of our Honorable Prime Minister, which he calls as Viksit Bharat or Amrit Kal, and that is a vision that almost every Indian shares in his own heart and soul. This is an 8x jump over a quarter of a century. Over the next 7-8 years, India too is expected to drive almost 20% of global trade. And this is very important for everybody on this planet. Growth in this decade, that is 2023 to 2033, the per capita income levels would increase from about $2,200 to $5,200 by 2031. The developed world has seen such massive spurts of growth at different points in time of their country's history, which had instrumental role in charting or defining their respective economic growth trajectories, whether it's Germany after World War II, whether it is Japan after that, whether it was South Korea, and then of course China in the 80s, 70s, 80s, and the 90s. India today is at the cusp of a similar transformative economic phase. This massive transformation is throwing up several big opportunities. These are opportunities for the world, for Europe, for Germany, to collaborate and participate with a rising India, a resurgent India, for the benefit of world societies. Let me now set the context on the emerging manufacturing landscape in India. From the year 2000 to 2024, that's roughly about 24 years, India grew from $467 billion to about $3,900 billion, a little less than $4 trillion in GDP. That's about 8x growth in GDP in this 24-year period. Throughout this period, the manufacturing contribution to GDP has remained stagnant, unfortunately, at about 15% of our GDP. That's roughly about from $75 billion in year 2000 to about $650 billion in 2024, approximately 8x. It is therefore very imperative for us to accelerate manufacturing growth in India. If India is set to grow 8 times in the next 25 years, India's manufacturing needs to grow 12 to 15 times in the next 25 years. Roughly almost 2 times, a little less than 2 times of the GDP growth. We understand that we cannot merely afford to be a factory of the world built to print. We also cannot merely afford to be the global capability centers, or GCCs as they are called, for world destinations merely as designed for others. Today, inspired by the Honorable Prime Minister, Sri Narendra Modi's call, we are in India rapidly moving in the direction of being an innovation-driven economy and a products nation. It is the first time in India that everybody is saying that we now need to become a products nation. We need to design and produce our own products. We are determined to make products designed in India, made in India, for India and for the world. Taking a reference from Minister Vaishnav and Minister Scindia's talks that we heard yesterday in the afternoon, let me reiterate. India recognizes the need to establish a renewed manufacturing ecosystem that is aligned with the future needs of the world, that is competitiveness, ease and speed of doing business, aligned with the UN sustainability goals, and most importantly, relevant in the rapidly evolving digital and AI age. It is with this intention that India is today investing and creating capacities for large electronics, semiconductor, robotics, large renewable power industries, planning across solar, wind, small modular nuclear reactors. That's the new frontier that India is opening up, hydro, etc. And largely creating giga-scale capacities. I'll give you a small example. A few years ago, I was in New York, and Google had acquired a huge building space in Manhattan. From one end of the other, if you know Manhattan, each block is roughly about 1/4 of a mile. And if you have 2 blocks, it's almost half a mile. And they had acquired 2 blocks. So to go, and it was connected, so go from one end of that Google office to the other end, you needed a bicycle because walking was too long a time. So I very casually asked the head of that facility, I said, "What are you doing here?" He said, "Google's philosophy is you don't do anything in a small scale. You always do things that will impact 1 billion people. You do things on a scale that is large." Now, this is the learning most large Indian entrepreneurs are getting. So if you see the investments that are being made in India in solar, in semiconductor, actually robotics, I was very impressed. Last week we had a summit in Goa, headed by, actually the summit is called by Farid Zakaria, who is the CNN news leader. You probably have seen him on CNN quite often. Mr. Schmidt, who used to be the CEO of Google at one time. Mr. Ambani, who heads Reliance, and a couple of other Indian businessmen. And there, it was surprising to see the kind of work that is going on in India by Indian companies. I won't name the company, but they are building the biggest robotic plant in the world. They will make 20 million robots by 2030, humanoids. I don't think you can see this anywhere, probably only in China. And at a cost which is even more competitive than China. The 6G telecom network is being designed in India right now, as we speak. And by 2030, India will provide technology to the rest of the world for the 6G telecom network. That's how advanced Indian industry is getting. This is all private sector, by the way. I don't want to keep talking about other examples, but there are many, many examples. And therefore, things are moving at a speed in India in terms of technology, in terms of new areas, in terms of new investments at a very, very rapid pace. Recognizing the needs of India as a rapidly growing economy, the Indian government, and you heard this yesterday from Minister Vaishnav, that the three pillars based on which Prime Minister Modi has created the growth perspective for India. One is infrastructure, where the government is investing large amounts of capital in building roads, ports, airports, waterways, and all kinds of infrastructure, urban and rural infrastructure. And of course, then power generation, both renewable, and now I think more moving towards things like nuclear, also moving to biofuels and biogas. And how do we, and creating a system by which better logistics can reduce the cost of manufacturing, can reduce the cost of logistics, and make manufacturing far more competitive. Last but not the least, the vibrant startup and technology ecosystem India offers with almost, you heard that yesterday, so I won't repeat the numbers, but we have the second largest startups in the world, 100+ unicorns, each with a value of more than $1 billion have been created. I'll come to my last point, the last transition that each country has to make, and that is connected with human resources. In Europe, we are all staring at a sudden shortage in human resources. In our own factories, in Ennepetal, in Saxony, we can't find people to work. It's a big challenge, and when I talk to my other industry friends, they all have the same problem. And then I saw this program that India is going to send some 50,000 trained personnel to Germany for working anyway. But this is a problem not related only to Germany. The problem is larger. The developed world is engulfed with the problem of low fertility trap. Germany, 1.4 fertility rate. South Korea, worst, 0.68, which means 40% of South Korea won't exist in the next 30 years. Japan, 1.3. US, China, Russia, Australia, 1. Decline of fertility rates across the developed. We are expected to be the largest society of this century with a large working class population for the next 25 to 30 years. Our average age of our population will remain at around 29 to 30. Skill, adopt, align our young workforce with skill sets of the future, such as AI, digital, and you heard all this yesterday, so I'm not going to repeat it. The world today urgently needs to build resilient value chains, global value chains, and rapidly resolve this wide-scale human resource challenge. A resurgent India, a rising India, is the answer to these issues. India can be a backbone to the future of global value chains that brings much-needed resilience. India has a large workforce, skilled and equipped for the AI and digital age. While the Western world, including Germany, is experiencing structural challenges like rising energy costs, rising inflation, shortage of manpower, India has all of this, large pool of skilled workforce, fast-growing market, high-cost, competitive business-friendly environment, and most importantly, an ecosystem that is aligned with the 5 transitions that we have to adopt to. In our collective endeavor towards a sustainable future, the German-India partnership can be a living bridge, a platform to collaborate, to co-create, to co-develop and manufacture products and technologies to address the future requirements of the world. Thank you very much.
Mr. Kalyani, requesting you to please stay on stage for your felicitation. I'm going to request Mr. Ramu Rao Jupalli, Mr. Varun Das, and Mr. Ruben Kasper to please come on stage to felicitate Mr. Baba Kalyani. Ladies and gentlemen, a big round of applause for Mr. Baba Kalyani.
Thanks very much, Mr. Kalyani, for being a true champion of Make in India, leading the charge with excellence in the manufacturing sector. Let's move on to playoff number 4. India, the next factory of the world.
Oh, absolutely. As the world shifts its focus away from China, India is emerging as the next big manufacturing hub. And in this session, we explore how India can collaborate with